On today's show, the stage is finally set. Rockets versus Warriors in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Let's run it back. It's time to exercise some playoff demons. It's all coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
For the fifth time in the Rockets' last 7 postseason appearances, they will be facing off against the Golden State Warriors. What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Also, check out our Locked On Rockets newsletter. Would sincerely appreciate all of that support. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being an everydayer. Rockets, Warriors, Part 5. The stage is set. What a way to usher in this new era of Houston Rockets playoff basketball than by exercising the demons of the Mike D'Antoni, James Harden era of Houston Rockets basketball, having to go through Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and of course, Steve Kerr. Man, we're gonna talk a little bit about the play-in game that led to the Warriors drawing the Rockets here in the 2-7 matchup. Then we'll get into kind of what are some of the Rockets' advantages looking down the barrel at facing this Warriors team again for the 5th time in the last 7 postseason appearances, expectations for this series, predictions, and more. We're going to get into a lot of stuff on today's episode. And this won't be our only episode kind of previewing this matchup. We'll have crossover content. We'll be joined by Locked On Warriors later in the week to kind of get their view of things, kind of, ask questions, learn a little bit more about the Warriors and how Jimmy has looked in a Dubs jersey and all this stuff. We're going to have a ton of content laid out for the rest of this week as we approach Game 1, which will be Sunday in the prime time. Well, I guess technically not the prime time slot, the evening slot on Sunday, which was a bit surprising to me. But the stage is set. The schedule is out. Rockets' first 2 home games will be Sunday on Easter and then Wednesday night for the first couple games of this series. Oh man. All right. Sorry. I am emotionally bracing myself for dealing with the Warriors yet again. And look, where I'll start with is they got the 121-116 win against the Memphis Grizzlies in the 7-8 play-in tournament bracket to advance and secure the 7 seed and draw the Houston Rockets in the first round. And for anybody that watched that game, it very much felt like the Warriors special. Honestly, like that game was just kind of ridiculous. Jimmy Butler, 38 points, 12 of 20 shooting, 12 of 18 at the free throw line, drew 18 free throws compared to just 23 free throws as a team for the Memphis Grizzlies. Steph Curry with 37 points on 9 of 22 shooting, 13 of 13 at the line, went 6 of 13 from downtown, had a ton of points in the fourth quarter to close out Memphis. And on the other side, Desmond Bane was flawless. John Morant battled through an ankle injury that he suffered and came back into the game. Jaren Jackson Jr. hit 4 of 9 from 3, but was largely inefficient on the interior. Zach Edey looked every bit a rookie in this game. And watching this game, it felt like pretty major stakes because at the end of the day, yes, the Grizzlies would have likely been the easier first round opponent for the Rockets to face. And so I was pulling for the Grizzlies. I was cheering my ass off for the Grizzlies in this game, hoping, praying that they would find a way to pull it out. And unfortunately, they had a lot stacked against them. It very much felt like a one-sided officiating affair, which is, spoiler alert, nothing new when it comes to the Warriors. So, I'm looking over there at Grizzlies fans like, first time. But the officiating was actually just really heinous in this game on both sides. Like there were phantom fouls going left and right, like the phantom foul that sent Scottie Pippen Jr. to the free throw line after that transition play where Pajimski cleanly blocked the ball and there was no foul. There was the Jimmy Butler phantom foul under the basket where he just straight up smoked a layup and there was no contact. There was the Kevon Looney foul where Zach Edey's elbow knocked the ball out, but they ruled that it was contact on the wrist after the challenge. It was a ridiculous game. But here's what I'll say. And here's a major takeaway that I have about this game in particular. And I might reference a couple other things as we navigate this episode, some kind of observations about how this Grizzlies team tried to handle the Warriors, where their shortcomings were, and where I think the Rockets actually have some significant advantages when you're looking at this Rockets-Warriors matchup. But it took all of that. It took some very one-sided officiating for a majority of the game. It took Jimmy Butler dropping 38, Steph Curry dropping 37 against a Grizzlies team that lost Ja Morant for a portion of the game due to the ankle injury, and he likely wasn't 100% at the end of the game, taking advantage of a rookie big man in Zach Edey, who was really struggling at various points in the evening. Jaren Jackson Jr., who failed to impose his will as a big on a very small Warriors team. A Grizzlies team that just fired their head coach a few weeks ago. And it took all of that for the Warriors to scrape by and win by 5. Not scared of this Warriors team. I am individually scared of Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler to an extent. That was the main differentiator between the Grizzlies and the Warriors, is in a given, series, crunch time, closing moments of a tied game, whatever. Jimmy and Steph have been there, done that. And they have a proven track record of playoff experience and rising in the biggest of moments. And so that's what worries me about this Warriors team. But I have a pretty strong feeling that some of the games that the Rockets play against this Warriors team are not even going to come down to crunch time minutes. They're not even going to be in a position where they might get killed by a Steph Curry dagger or a Jimmy Butler game winner, because this Rockets team just matches up incredibly well with this Warriors team. They've got the answers that this Grizzlies team didn't have across the board. They've got the defenders, they've got the size, they've got the physicality, they've got the defensive profile that kept Golden State in check all season long. Steph's only 1-2 against this iteration of this Rockets team this season. So of the 5 games that the Rockets played against the Warriors, Steph wasn't there for 2 of them. And yeah, the Rockets lost those 2 games, but those were also much earlier on in the season. And again, without Steph, and the Rockets were still trying to find their footing this year when those games occurred. With Steph in the lineup, he struggled against this Rockets team. And so that's kind of my immediate takeaway is, there was, and, I shared in a little bit of the emotions kind of running around during this game. And again, whether you watch this game I watched this game and I was invested. This is the most invested I've been in a non-Rockets game in a minute. And I definitely had moments of like kind of the flashbacks, the worries, the fears about dealing with Golden State for a 5th time in the postseason. In the last 7 trips the Rockets have made it to the postseason, this will be the 5th time that they see the Warriors. And that's a lot, right? This is a rivalry as old as time itself between the Rockets and the Warriors. And it's a whole new team. There is not a single person on this Rockets roster or in the coaching staff. Actually, that's not true. Will Dunn is a carryover from the Mike D'Antoni era, but it's a whole new look Rockets. And it's still some of the pillars of Golden State, right? Still Steve Kerr, still Steph Curry, still Draymond, still Kevon Looney. Guys who have been there against the old version of the Houston Rockets. But a thing to remember about these new Rockets too is they're not afraid of anything. That's the atmosphere that Ime Udoka has fostered. That is the identity of this Rockets team. They truly are fearless. They won't back down from anybody. And I don't think that this Rockets team is burdened by the trauma of past Rockets teams. Rockets fans very much still are. Rockets fans very much still hold the pain of losing to the Warriors over and over and over and over, and it hurts, right? And it's scary to go up against that team again. But this Rockets team hasn't dealt with that, right? They're coming in, they're on top of the world, they're the 2 seed, they have a defensive identity, they've got a game plan, and trust that Ime Udoka wants his revenge against Steph Curry after facing the Warriors in the finals with Boston and losing to Steve Kerr and Steph Curry and Draymond Green in the finals. So I'm sure Ime Udoka is looking for a little revenge here. And the Rockets organizationally, even though the roster is different, even though the coaching staff is different, organizationally, the Rockets are looking for their get back against this Warriors team. And you couldn't have written it any better. Even though the Grizzlies would have been the easier, better first round matchup, I still very much like how the Rockets match up with the Warriors. And we're going to get into a lot of that here in just a moment and over the course of the coming days leading into game 1. But at the same time, this is almost, you couldn't have written it any better, right? The Rockets need to go through the Warriors to usher in this new era of Houston Rockets playoff basketball. It's poetic. It's beautifully written. Shakespeare couldn't have done it better. And for that, I'm excited. For the idea that this Rockets team can come out on top and beat this Warriors team and bring in a new era. It's exciting stuff. I'm ready. Maybe I'm irrationally confident, and we're going to get into some of the numbers here in just a moment and take a look at some of the key matchups and advantages and different things to consider going into this series. And I'm probably not even going to be able to get to all of it in today's show. I'm going to do my best to cover what I think is most important. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by OpenPhone. Look, if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time that you had a service emergency? If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone or computer. You don't need to carry 2 phones anymore. With OpenPhone, you can manage business calls and texts from one app, whether you're at your desk or on the go. They have a shared inbox that your team can jump into any conversation without missing a beat, and the AI call transcripts and summaries save you time on follow-ups and ensures that you never lose track of customer interactions. OpenPhone is offering listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's openphone.com/LockedOnNBA, openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you're switching from another service, OpenPhone will even port your existing numbers over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Today's episode is also brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with the Fire TV Stick 4K device. No console required. Just grab a paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, Avowed, so many different games that you can tag into as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all available on your Fire TV. Absolutely endless entertainment with 4K streaming. You can watch more than 1.5 different million movies, TV shows, all that stuff from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. That's what Fire Stick can do. You can watch shows, but being able to game on your TV, being able to have a console at your fingertips, all you need is a controller and you are set to go. Play high quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. If you already have a console, a Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you go. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube, 3rd generation. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, I want to get into some numbers here, as well as where I think the Rockets have some distinct advantages in this Warriors matchup. Now, I did mention, right, the concerns of dealing with a Steph Curry and a Jimmy Butler, these kind of true 1A type players over the course of a given 7-game series. What I will say is one area of advantage that I feel like works in the Rockets' favor is, and we talked about this on our previous episode with the Podfather, the Warriors just don't have a lot outside of those two. Go back and look at the box score from the win against the Grizzlies. Again, it took every ounce that Curry and Butler had to carry the Warriors to that win. They got 4 points from Draymond Green. They got 9 from Moses Moody, only 3 from Podziemski. And then off the bench, they got 12 from Gary Payton, 11 from Quentin Post. But that's like, they're just not getting a ton else. 2 from Kevon Looney, 3 from Gui Santos, 2 from Buddy Hield. Like, it's just, I really feel like the Warriors do not have enough support, enough scoring, really, enough of a punch around Steph and Jimmy to where if the Rockets' game plan is to eliminate one of those guys or to severely hinder one of those guys, which is exactly what it was the last time these two teams met up and they completely just erased Steph Curry from existence. You're not going to hold Steph Curry to 3 points on 1 of 10 shooting, 1 of 9 shooting, whatever it was, every game in the playoffs. It's impossible. He's one of the greatest players of all time for a reason. But the Rockets are adequately equipped to very much slow down one of Jimmy or Steph. And that's exactly the game plan that we're going to see Ime Udoka run with. If you can severely limit one of them, they're just not going to have enough of a pop outside of that to be able to get over the hump offensively. We know that these games are going to be an absolute dogfight. We know that the Rockets and Warriors are 2 of the best defenses in the NBA. The Warriors have been the best defense in the NBA since adding Jimmy Butler to the mix. And looking up and down kind of some of the other areas of this game and some of the matchups and things that I think are going to work out in the Rockets' favor, one area that I very much feels like the Grizzlies kind of failed to capitalize on is the Grizzlies are a big team, right? They have Zach Edey, they've got Jaren Jackson Jr., they've got a lot of size in their front court. And it didn't feel that way at all against the Warriors. Zach Edey is all of like almost 8 feet tall, and it felt like he was playing like he was 5'8" out there at times. Getting stripped, not being strong with the basketball. He did look, and I'll give credit. Zach Edey did have 17 rebounds, but it was what was happening in the immediate aftermath of getting those rebounds. They weren't leading to anything. They weren't leading to second chance points. They weren't leading to kickouts for threes. It was leading to him getting stripped underneath or tipping the pass and then it landing in the hands of a Warriors player and igniting a fast break. When you look at the Rockets and the double big lineup that has been so prevalent here in the closing stretch of the regular season and is going to be a significant force here in the playoffs for Houston, that double big lineup is going to do wonders for them against this Warriors team. Because one of the areas that the Warriors absolutely carve up teams, and they carved up the Grizzlies like crazy in this game, is all the off-ball movement, the backdoor cuts, the misdirection plays, the split cut actions, all the little things that they do, all the misdirection, all the, offensive hoopla that they throw out there to confuse opposing teams. And it led to so many different backdoor opportunities, defensive breakdowns by Memphis, all that stuff. And first and foremost, the Rockets are a much more disciplined defensive team than the Grizzlies are. I don't know how many different times I watched a player try and close out on Steph for the Grizzlies, and they went flying by, and all he had to do was hit him with a quick pump fake, and then he's wide open for 3. It happened way too many times. The Rockets have much better game plan discipline when it comes to guarding Steph Curry and really closing out on shooters in general, guarding on the perimeter, that kind of thing. But it's not only that, it's also when you're playing that zone defense that the Rockets run with the double big lineup, and when guys are in charge of occupying and guarding a space of the floor as opposed to chasing different guys around the perimeter, it's a lot easier to defend against some of those off-ball actions that the Warriors like to run. Now, it's harder to run that double big lineup and that zone defense when you have Steph Curry out there. And so the Rockets may not be able to use the double big lineup a ton when Curry is on the floor, and we'll see how it ultimately looks. But at the same time, Curry needs rest. He's going to have anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes a game where he's going to be sitting on the bench. And in those minutes, if the Rockets are able to really capitalize with the double big lineup, the Warriors aren't going to be able to hurt the Rockets by getting those easy buckets underneath and using Draymond and Jimmy as facilitators and breaking down the defense, because the Rockets have better game plan discipline. And when you have that backline defense of Adams hovering near the paint, Sengun on one side, Jabari on another side, all that length, all that size as the backline of your defense, it makes it a lot harder for the Warriors to be able to score directly at the rim using misdirection and all the off-ball stuff. So I actually really like the way the double big lineup will play in the favor of the Rockets. And again, the Rockets double big lineup plays big. They play strong. They play physical. They crush you on the boards, and they actually do something with it, as opposed to the Grizzlies double big lineup with Zach Edey and Triple J, where Triple J was primarily a perimeter player in this game against the Warriors. And he was killing them from 3, 4 of 9 from long distance, but did not whatsoever impose his will down low and really, make the Warriors feel like the small team that they actually are. And for the Rockets, we've seen it time and time again with the double big lineup. Steven Adams provides so much gravity just by being on the floor, because you got to do something with him. You got to park Draymond down him to box him out, or they're going to have to go double big themselves with Kevon Looney and Draymond out there, and you put Dre on Sengun, and Kevon Looney will try his damnedest to try and box out Steven Adams underneath. But I just don't think the Warriors are going to have an answer for that lineup in particular. And what also makes that lineup so effective, and this is just an extension of who the Rockets are as a team, the Grizzlies don't have anywhere near the perimeter defenders that this Rockets team has. Amin Thompson, Dillon Brooks, Tari Eason, Jabari Smith Jr., Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, who's a much improved perimeter defender, right? All these different guys to throw at Steph on the perimeter, to where you're going to have Amin Thompson face guarding Steph 99% of the time. And it'll more than likely look exactly like the last game between these two teams, where Amin Thompson tried his absolute hardest to never switch off Steph, just face guarding him all game long, not even giving him any breathing room to get shots off or to even get passes from his teammates. And the Warriors are going to crumble offensively because of that, because they absolutely need to go through Steph at various points of the game. And Jimmy did a fantastic job against the Grizzlies of carrying the offense for 3 quarters while Steph kind of struggled. And then Steph woke up there at the end of the game, and it was absolutely on fire in the 4th quarter. He had enough left in the tank, and Jimmy did the heavy lifting for most of the night. But that's not going to work against the Rockets. It's not. Not only because Jimmy was having an easy time going up against the Grizzlies' wings, but also because the Rockets have enough size and physicality to throw at Jimmy. Like, I just don't see how this is a bad matchup for the Rockets. Rockets aren't going to send Jimmy Butler to the line 18 times. They're not. They're going to be much more disciplined than the Grizzlies were in that regard. And Jimmy Butler is not going to have an easy time scoring over Dillon Brooks or Tari Eason or Jabari Smith Jr. Or Amin Thompson on switches. It's not going to happen. So I very much feel like the Rockets have a lot of advantages here in this matchup. And the biggest one might actually be on the offensive end for this team, is they're going to hunt Steph all game long, all series long. Steph Curry is going to get hunted repeatedly over and over and over, because that's what the Rockets' offensive identity has kind of been this season, is they identify mismatches, weaknesses, and because the Warriors switch so many different actions, Steph is going to get stuck on somebody that he doesn't want to guard. And whoever that person is, if it's Jalen Green isoing on the perimeter, if it's Dillon Brooks posting up and using his size and strength, if it's Amin Thompson getting downhill, if it's Sengun on a switch, doesn't matter who it is. Steph Curry is going to get hunted constantly in this series. He is the weak link defensively for the Golden State Warriors, and they are going to be forced to double team and send help to Steph. And that's going to open things up for the Rockets. It's going to open up their shooters. That's going to open up a lot of different possibilities for them offensively. At the end of the day, it is going to come down to, can the Rockets actually capitalize on those opportunities? Steph can't guard Jalen Green one-on-one. He can't guard Dillon Brooks one-on-one. He can't guard Jabari one-on-one. He can't guard Tari one-on-one. Every single player up and down the Rockets roster can take Steph Curry one-on-one and make him miserable defensively. And that is absolutely going to wear on him as the series progresses. So I really like a lot of the Rockets' advantages in this matchup across the board. I like a lot of their matchup advantages, and we're going to get into more of those in later episodes and talk about some of the specific kind of X factor matchups here and some of the things that work out in the Rockets' favor, as well as some of the things that I do think that, look, this Warriors team is not a bad team, right? They won 48 wins. They are very much a threat. They are. I'm not sitting here saying this is going to be a cakewalk for the Rockets. I just have a lot of confidence, maybe more so than other Rockets fans, about this matchup in particular and about the weaknesses that were very much on display for Golden State against the Grizzlies really coming to light against the Rockets. I really don't think we've seen the Rockets play their best version of basketball against the Warriors this season, and they still went 2-3 against them. And they've still done a really fantastic job containing Steph Curry in the games that he was available in. So I think it's nowhere to go but up from here for the Rockets. Coming up, I want to get into some of the specific numbers from the regular season matchups, how certain guys individually perform, the plus minus values for certain guys, who really stands out, who's thrived, who's struggled, as well as kind of more expectations, predictions, and final thoughts for today's episode. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by Skims. Look, when I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I'll admit I was intrigued. I've heard a lot about their quality from friends and family and my significant others, so I had to give them a try. And let me tell you, they absolutely live up to the hype. Underwear, let's face it, finding the right set of boxers can be difficult, right? Because you get a good pair and then you wash them a couple times and they start to get baggy or loose or whatever. I'm a boxer briefs kind of guy. That's my favorite thing to wear. And, unfortunately over time, they flare out. They don't keep their shape, all that stuff. The men's line from Skims offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. My perfect one, their stretch 5-inch boxer brief. It's perfect. Perfect for an active lifestyle. They move with you. They never lose their shape, and they stay in place all day long. Whether you're working, whether you're out running errands, maybe you're playing pickup, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear that I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're not wearing anything at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA and Skims stores. Let them know that we sent you, and after you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, I wanted to take a look at some of the numbers from the regular season series against this Warriors team. And I will say, on the surface, Rockets played the Warriors 5 times this year. I think you got to ball up and throw away that first game. The one where the Rockets were down 30 at halftime and they had the crazy late comeback and they forced OT and Steph didn't play that game. It was just a weird, wacky game. And it was so early in the season. It was so long ago. And neither of these two teams are the same, right? Steven Adams wasn't a big, it wasn't a big factor in that game because he was still getting up to speed physically. The Rockets themselves are still establishing kind of their identity early in the season. They are not the same team that they were earlier this year. The Warriors are not the same team, right? Wiggins was big in that game. They didn't have Jimmy Butler. I think you got to ball up and throw out that game, to be honest. It kind of skews the numbers a little bit and it throws things out of perspective. So just incorporating the other 4 games, and you could make the same argument. You can go back and you could say, okay, well, maybe you only factor in the games where Jimmy was available, right? So you only factor in the last 2 games against the Warriors. In that case, Rockets are 1-1 against Golden State. But by and large, I think the Rockets have actually done a really solid job this season competing with the Warriors, even though they have 3 losses. And even though that first game got really out of hand really quickly, even without Steph out there, the Rockets have very much held their own against Golden State. And a lot of the individual matchups, I think they've got the right pieces up and down the roster to really contend with the Warriors. Looking at the numbers, by the numbers, so not including that very first game, because it really skews the numbers in a negative light because of how badly the starters got outworked in that game. And then, the comeback with Amin and Tari and Jabari and whatnot. But excluding that first game, here are the plus minus numbers for the Rockets against the Warriors this season. The Rockets' best player against the Warriors in raw plus minus has been Amin Thompson. He is plus 21 in his minutes against the Warriors this season. Following that, of the regular rotation, Steven Adams is plus 14. And then Tari Eason is just a +3. So those are your regular rotation guys. So Amin Thompson has been absolutely crushing it in his minutes against the Warriors. +21, far and away the best, most impactful player on the team against this Golden State squad. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Sengun has struggled in his minutes against Golden State. He is the Rockets' lowest plus-minus, -22 against Golden State this season. Dillon Brooks is a -12. Aaron Holiday -10. Jabari is -7. Jalen's -6. Fred is -4. So the margins are really close on all the guys outside of Amin Thompson and Steven Adams, who are really at the top, the apex, and then Sengun, who is really low down there at the bottom. And one thing that we saw Ime do last game against the Warriors is he kind of balanced going between, the starting lineup with Sengun out there, then going to the double big lineup when Steph was on the bench, then rolling out Jabari at the 5 lineup, kind of that switchability lineup where they can switch everything 1 through 5. And being able to throw out so many different looks, I think, is really beneficial for the Rockets because, again, they can play so many different ways in a given game. It's not like they're stuck to playing one style. It's not like they can only play with the double big or they can only play small with Jabari or somebody else at the 5 and switching everything defensively. They can play a bunch of different ways. And I do think this series is going to be a really big test for Alperen Sengun defensively. Can he hold his own against a Warriors team that is absolutely going to be picking on him all series long? I talked about how the Rockets are going to be picking on Steph Curry all season long, that he's the weak link defensively. Sengun is the weak link for the Rockets defensively. And that's the guy that the Warriors are going to target over and over and over. And it's going to be interesting to see what Ime Udoka ultimately does to either counter that, mitigate that, and how Sengun will handle this series, how he rises to the occasion. Can he hold his own? Will he need to be switched out on the perimeter? Will the Rockets pre-switch stuff? Who will they park him on? Who's the weak link that the Rockets are going to try and hide Sengun? Are they going to let Sengun guard Dre, or are they going to park him on somebody like Moses Moody and Gary Payton when he's in the game off in the corner? That's going to be an interesting matchup and kind of dynamic to look out for. The other side of things here, Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green have been awful against the Warriors this season. Just flat out, it's just no other way to put it. They've just been horrendous against the Warriors this season. Jalen is only averaging, where's his points at? Jalen's averaging 14 against the Warriors. And that's removing the first game where he really struggled. He's averaging 14 points on 35% shooting at just 26.3 from downtown. And Fred VanVleet is even worse than that. Fred is averaging 8 points on 24% shooting and just 25% from deep in his 3 games against the Warriors. Jalen has struggled against the Warriors historically. And the backcourt is going to have to be good for the Rockets to be able to win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're going to need one of Jalen or Fred to actually step up on each night. It doesn't have to be Jalen all series or Fred all series, but they need each one of them on any given, on game 1, game 2, game 3, whatever. You need a good game from one of Jalen or Fred, or it's not going to look pretty. They can't have duds against this Warriors team because they're going to be given opportunities when Sengun gets double teamed, when the Rockets attack Steph and the Warriors send the double to help out Steph. They're going to have opportunities to knock down shots from the perimeter. They're going to have opportunities to attack, and Fred needs to be able to capitalize on the threes that he's going to get. Jalen needs to be able to drive and attack downhill, get to the rim, really put pressure on the Warriors defense. And this is going to be a really big, like, either coming out party for Jalen Green in the playoffs against the Dubs, or it's going to be a really disappointing showing. Like, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's been rough, and Jalen's had some big moments, right? Obviously, the play-in tournament, or not the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament, and, recovering the loose ball and icing the free throw at the end of the game. Like, those were big plays from Jalen Green. And he's got ways that he can impact the game outside of just his scoring. And we know that this is going to be a rock fight with the Warriors, and scoring is not going to be the way that the Rockets win this game, but they're going to need more than what they've gotten from Jalen so far in the regular season against this Warriors team, and they're going to need significantly more than what they've gotten from Fred. The backcourt has to wake up and provide a little bit more of a scoring punch for the Rockets to be in a good position against this team. On the Warriors side of things, the numbers, the plus minus numbers for the regular season, Jonathan Kuminga has been the absolute difference maker for Golden State. He's actually a scary piece. He's fallen out of favor with Steve Kerr. Don't know what's going on there. And you know, I do wonder if Kerr is going to just unleash Kuminga against the Rockets, but he's got the Warriors' best plus minus against Houston, plus 36 in his 4 games played against the Rockets. And actually, I think one of those games did include the early season game that I was kind of trying to eliminate. So let me actually 86 that and rerun the numbers. But Kuminga's still up there, plus 18. Buddy Hield's a plus 31. Kevon Looney's a plus 22. Wiggins is a plus 14, but he's not there anymore. Steph is a plus 7 in his 3 games, even though he's just 1 and 2. And then on the flip side, Gary Payton II has been the absolute weakest link for the Warriors. He's been the guy that the Rockets have exposed. He's been the guy that the Rockets have tried to force into those tough shots, force into shooting threes that he really doesn't want to take. He's smoked so many layups in these close games, right? He had the layup against the Rockets that he smoked. He had the layup that he just didn't even shoot against the Clippers. He had another one of those blown layups against the Grizzlies. Gary Payton II is absolutely the weak link for the Warriors, and they kind of have to play him, though. So he's a minus 25 so far against the Rockets. Trace Jackson Davis is minus 11. Moses Moody's minus 10. Draymond Green is a minus 10. And Jimmy Butler's a minus 8. So I don't know. I come away thinking that the Rockets are actually in a really good spot against this Warriors team. They've matched up well with them in the regular season. And I will say what we know is that this series is going to be ugly and that the officiating is going to suck. It just is. That's going to be the downside. Like I wanted the Grizzlies would have been a nice, calm series. It would have been fun, high octane, 2 athletic, young, fun teams getting after it. And it would have been the NBA TV special. And it would have just been, you know, pie in the sky, having fun, no worries, no fears. Warriors is going to be brutal. And every game is going to be stressful. And officiating is going to be under the utmost scrutiny. And you can bet your bottom dollar that if this game reaches 6 or 7 games, Scott Foster's absolutely officiating at least 2 of these games. And I'm not going to sit here and start blaming the officials right now, but we know historically the officials have largely been on the side of the Warriors. And we already know that Steve Kerr is doing his work early, right? Talking about the physicality and guys grabbing and holding Steph and getting away with stuff. And we saw it against the Grizzlies. We saw Steph get a ton of ticky-tack touch fouls leading to free throws that really helped bury the Grizzlies, right? The fouls did not help Memphis in that game. The Rockets are going to have to be incredibly disciplined when it comes to not giving the refs the ability to even think about blowing the whistle on, you know, when Steph does anything or when Jimmy does anything, because that's going to be the quickest way that the Rockets lose ground and get behind in these games is by gift wrapping the Warriors points at the free throw line. Rockets are going to dominate the glass. They're going to dominate the physical battle. They're going to dominate the interior of this matchup. But the Warriors have the outside shooting. The Warriors have a lot of heavy hitters with Steph and Jimmy, but do they have enough outside of those guys? And what's the Rockets' defensive game plan going to be? Are they going to try and eliminate Jimmy Butler? Are they going to try and eliminate Steph Curry? Are they going to let those 2 guys cook and just stay home on everybody else? Who knows what it's going to look like? I trust Ime Udoka and I trust the Rockets coaching staff to get it figured out. And I think it's going to be Rockets in 6. I'm fairly confident in that. And I'm even going to go so far as predicting the order of the wins. I think they're going to win game 1. I think they're going to lose game 2 on the Toyota Center court, and it's going to be jarring, and Rockets fans are going to hit the panic button. Then they come back and win game 3 in Golden State, lose game 4, win game 5, and then win game 6 in the Bay Area to take the series in 6 games. That's my official prediction. That's how I think things play out across this series. I want your thoughts about the Warriors. How do you feel about seeing Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr again in the playoffs? Where's your confidence meter at? Are you on a scale of 1 to 10? How confident are you? At a 10? Are you feeling like the Rockets are going to manhandle this Warriors team? Are you down there at a 1? Are you at a -2? Are you getting that PTSD from the Warriors and, beating the Rockets over and over and over previously? I want your thoughts on this matchup. Everything that you got for me, let me know in the YouTube comments. Remember, the best way to help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Also, check out our Locked On Rockets newsletter. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.